start recording and then make sure we're recording. Cool. Right. Hi guys, welcome to Wednesday Warrior episode number 3. Now today I am joined by a very special woman, and we have met virtually and probably been in touch over the last few years. Our worlds seem to have crossed paths. So I would like to introduce you all today to the beautiful Lauren Rowe.
Hi.
So Lauren is a 30-year-old amazing CF warrior, and I have asked her to be a part of today's episode for a couple of reasons. So I'm going to give you a few dot points as to why, and then I'm going to hand it over to Lauren and she can go through, I guess, some of the answers. So first of all, like I said, Lauren is beautiful. She's in her 30s. Lauren has created her own non-for-profit Gifted for Life, and that may be a company that you're aware of, but I'm going to get her to tell us a little bit more about that. For me personally, I find Lauren's attitude and her zest for life very contagious, even through a computer screen. So I hope that today you get that vibe as well. Lauren has had a double lung transplant and is about to go through the process for a second. So I feel like we can have a bit of a chat. So first of all, I'm going to hand it over to Lauren to tell us a little bit more about herself and Gifted for Life.
Lovely. So my name's Lauren. Was diagnosed with cystic fibrosis. Grew up in and out of hospital, as probably most of us have. Got quite unwell. I think one of the main dot points is had 2 bowel surgeries within the first 3 years of life. Then by the time I was 11, I had a lobe of my lung removed because it was quite deteriorated from, I had MRSA, which actually I got rid of through a trial drug, but the damage was done, so I had a lobectomy. But then by the time I was 18, things weren't great. So I worked up on the list when I was 19 and had a transplant at 19 with about 2 weeks left to live. And that went quite well. I didn't have the full 100% lung capacity, which I thought it was going to be, but that was fine, still did my thing. And then 5 years into it, I got rejection. It's called antibody-mediated rejection, which means it's through the blood. So I had plasmapheresis, which is a kind of treatment where they actually take the blood out of one arm, they replace your plasma with a donated plasma and then inject it back in another arm. So I did that, and for some wonderful reason, against the odds, I stopped rejecting, but it left me with 30% lung capacity, which is what I've been on for the last 5 years / last 2 years has been lower than that. And now I'm struggling along between 18 and 25%.
Do you have oxygen?
That would be, no, my stats are great. Okay. Yeah, which is funny because everyone's different, I know, but I think for me, if I keep my body fit, it helps a lot with the sats. I've only been on oxygen when I've been in hospital because, I've got a virus or something, but yeah, even with low lung capacity, oxygen, not a problem.
So tell me then, rewind a little bit to the rejection, well, I guess the lead up to the transplant. Do you remember how you felt leading up to knowing you're going to have a transplant, and what kind of things did you have to do to prepare to go and have a lung transplant?
Yeah, well, this is all fresh in my mind because I'm doing it the second time around, and a lot of things have changed in the last 10 years. So I was a baby. I was 19. So really, to have a transplant, they need to basically make sure the rest of your body is fit. So the tests that are involved are you get CTs for obviously your chest, your abdominal, have bone density tests to make sure your bones are fit enough, heart ultrasounds, ultrasounds of different organs if they're all a bit worried, like your liver or your kidneys, pap smears for the ladies, make sure all your shots are up to date, stuff like that. So all up, it's a list a mile long of exams and treatments that you need to get done before you get listed. And if you tick all the boxes and it all seems okay, well then you get listed. And when I was 19, I was in that point, which I think a lot of us with CF get scared to, where the tune-ups aren't working and you feel yourself just keep on going down, and there's nothing's working. So that's when I said, okay, I want to talk to someone, and that's how it eventuated. And leading up to that, I was very good, like well-ish emotionally. I was seeing a psychologist, which I think I recommend to anyone. Yeah. And I'm just thinking back, I was very sick by the time I got it. So I couldn't even lift myself from the bed. So I was at that point where I was quite in a lot of pain, and I had no quality of life, that I was happy either outcome, kind of thing, if I got the call or not. I mean, obviously I wanted the call, but I was at that point where I was like, you know, what happens.
And that's scary, isn't it? I mean, thankfully I've never had to go down the path of a transplant, but I know when I get sick, and many other people would say, if when you get sick, you literally get to that state where you just don't care because you're just so unwell, you're lethargic and you have no energy, no appetite, no colour.
And if there's nothing, and if there's nothing left to do, like if nothing's working, well then, you know, like I'm very much a focus-oriented person. If someone says, you do this and you have this results, well then of course I'm going to do it. But when nothing's working, you're just waiting, I think that's the hard part, where there's nothing left for you to do but just wait it out.
Yeah. After you had your transplant, you were 19, your surgery went to plan, so to speak. And what life did the new set of lungs give you? What was your quality of life and recovery, I guess, from having a transplant? And what have you done from then to leading up to this most recent rejection?
Well, I feel like it was the first 12 months was getting back into my body and finding myself again, because, you know, you're on new medications, you've obviously got new lungs. And even though I could breathe, there were things. So the lungs that they transplanted were too big for me. So they're actually squashed down the bottom. So I had to get used to the fact of breathing with squashed lungs down the bottom, which meant I didn't have a higher lung capacity than what I thought I may have had. And also too, just emotionally dealing with that, that sort of took me a while to get my head around. So in the first, so probably 2 months after transplant, I called my mom. I was like, Mom, got myself a job interview. And she's like, what? Like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm catching the train in the city. So I did, on my bucket list was to be an extra in a TV show. And so I called an extras agency, and then I got an extra gig on Home and Away. And I was a professional extra for a good like year or two in a lot of different Australian TV shows. And I just fell in love with it. I thought, this is great. We get to pretend to be things. And, you know, so did an acting class, and then that turned into a 3-year degree. And yeah, I graduated a diploma in acting. So there you go.
I did not know.
Nice. Yeah. So there you go. I'm a professional actor.
Wow.
Not so much anymore because I'm not getting paid for anything, but
no one is right now. It's okay. No one's getting
yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's what I was doing. And then it was 2 months after I graduated, I was doing auditions. That's when I started feeling shortness of breath and got rejection. So that's the first 5 years. Yeah, but loved life, moved out of home, just experienced life. Like, it was great. Like, when you have a transplant, you don't need to do nebulizers or anything.
Do you feel like
tablets?
Your health or did you feel like you were cheating? Because I couldn't imagine waking up and not doing a nebulizer in the morning.
Oh yeah, you had to get your head around it. I was like, I've spent 20 years religiously doing this, and now I've got this time, and I've got this energy, and you know, I could stay at friends' houses, didn't have to carry the big CPAP and the nebs and like the big bloody suitcase of, you know, all your meds. So yeah, it was really good. The first 5 years were great.
In that first 5 years, is that when you started Gifted Life?
No, it was actually, so coming off the bat of, gosh, I'm blabbering, it's probably getting really boring, but after I graduated, I actually started, so I really wanted to write a movie or make something with cystic fibrosis involved. So I met someone who was going to help me with that, and we started like, he said, I want to know more about, transplant and everything. So we went around and interviewed a bunch of people for like a documentary kind of thing. Cut long story short, documentary fell through, but I found out by talking to people, everyone was feeling very similar to what I had experienced. And a lot of it was a lot of emotional trauma. And there was just a lack of peer support there. And I thought, whoa, okay, I went through that. I thought I was the only one. Cool. Okay, I'm not alone in this. So then from that, I created a not-for-profit called Gifted Life. And it started with transplant awareness, went into transplant peer support. And then it's kind of brought, like, it's over the years, it's kind of like developed more into more chronic illness support.
Yeah.
So I won Women's Weekly Woman of the Future, which gave me a good amount of money so I could travel around Australia and do empowerment days for female transplant recipients. Wow. Did the whole keynote speaking, which I'm sure, you've done the rounds as well. Yeah. Did like bags for people in hospital. So when they got admitted, they actually had access to like your standard toothbrush, toothpaste, body wash, all of that. And I'm all about making the best of the situation you have. So that's basically what we try to do, just give everyone as many skills and just resources that I could manage to do for people to feel the best that they could in shitty circumstances. We send care packages out and stuff, which is great, but has the last 2 years kind of not as active at the moment, just because I'm the head of it. I'm the one that runs it, and the old health hasn't been that great. So yeah, it's kind of a bit on pause at the moment.
So as far as when did you start going through this? When did you make the decision for a second time round for a transplant? When did you make that decision that that's what you needed?
It's been a long time coming. So when I first rejected, they didn't think the treatment was going to work. So they started working me up, and they said, you're going to have a small window. And then I stabilized. And then the next time was 3 years after that. I got sick again. They said, oh, we might have to do it now. And then I stabilized. And then, it just kind of kept going. But now it's definitely been decreasing the last 2 years. And they said, yeah, I think it's time now. I'm like, okay, great. So I've had a lot of time to get my head around. But we officially decided probably 3 weeks ago.
So very fresh.
I went into hospital and just tried some IVs, and that didn't help. And it's same story kind of thing. I've been working up.
What genotype are you?
I'm Delta 508.
So double Delta?
Delta, yeah.
Wow, so we're the same genotype. So genotype for me is like a new thing of being aware of, this, I guess, the scientific side of CF. So are you on Orkambi or any of those medications?
No, I don't. I don't have access to any of those because they will have side effects with the transplant.
Okay.
So any cystic fibrosis drugs that are out now aren't really available to me, or will probably work without giving me other side effects.
Okay.
So I'm essentially more a transplant recipient with CF rather than cystic fibrosis and transplant recipient.
Yeah.
If that, like, treatment wise, I feel like that would probably describe me better, because the complications I have now are more to do with transplant rather than CF.
Yeah.
Even though CF, it's a vicious circle.
Sounds like it, and as you're saying it, I'm thinking, like it fixes, and I hear this like often with transplant patients, or people, I shouldn't say patients, it kind of fixes one problem with another problem.
It's a never-ending cycle. Like, let's fix the worst problem there is, but it's going to give you a little mini problem that's going to grow over here, and then we'll fix that problem, and then we'll give you this. Like, it's never ending.
Does it scare you? I know that's deep, but I say how I think.
Yeah. No, ask me anything. No. Like, yes and no. Like, I've actually, because I've had a long time to get my head around it, and the week just gone, I've had to talk to my parents about my wishes. I've done all the legal things, telling them, like, if I have a stroke, or if I become a vegetable, or this or that, when do I want for them to pull the plug? you know, will wise, all of that. So you have to have all these conversations, and like obviously it's me, so like we end up pissing ourselves laughing because
you're funny.
you know, it's something ridiculous, but at the same time it's hard and it sucks. And yeah, like there are some moments where I think, oh, I don't want to die for fuck's sake. Oh, sorry.
I'm allowed to swear. We're real and we're raw here, babe.
Okay, good. You know, and like some days you just think, oh, like I just, oh, I don't want to think about it.
Like if your time is your time, then I mean, I feel like as a CFer, so to speak, we all kind of have an attitude that, yeah, when your time is up, your time is up, and hopefully it's not the CF that gets us.
Yeah, hopefully.
But if it is, I feel like we have more of an ease of talking about it as well. I have so many people that are probably watching this thinking, how the hell would a 30-year-old sit down with their parents and have a conversation about your last wishes? And, you know, yeah, if I turn into a vegetable after this surgery, you're going to turn this machine off or not? That's a pretty full-on thing to have to talk about. But as you say.
Yeah, I mean, and also too, like I have the benefit that I still have hope. Like I talk about this a lot, in that, you know, if it was a done deal, I think there'd be a very different conversation. There'd be a very different emotional state I'd be in right now.
Yeah.
But I also, on the flip side, have the hope that the transplant does go well. Yeah. There's only a couple of complications. Realistically, there's probably a couple, you know, best case scenario, and I get to live another 10 years and it goes quite well. So yeah. I also have that. And so I do try to focus on the positives, even though I acknowledge, you know, the risks and stuff. But the fact that it can go well is a good number.
Yeah.
The risk factors, they're higher than we would like them to be. But I mean, they're there, but they're not as, it's not like, oh, there's a 90% chance this isn't going to go well. Like it's pretty good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think if you still have that hope that things can still go well, just keep pushing through, because you never know what happens. Like, you know,
yeah.
I mean, when I was 11, I was having a lobectomy, and they said, like, you might not be able to get a transplant if you have this operation. And, you know, it's been an ongoing thing. And I've just been very fortunate that, you know, these shitty things have happened. And then I've been like the luckiest unlucky person that things just keep falling. And like, I am curious to see what happens next. So,
yeah, it's funny. CF, you know, you probably have had media articles written about you like this. You know, you defy the odds of living with cystic fibrosis, but that is so cliche. Listening to you, let's, like, you know, if you were to break down what are these odds, well, yeah, you've got CF and the daily job that is in itself, but let's look at all the additional things that come with it, which you've just spoken about a couple, and that's a couple. I'm sure there are hundreds.
Oh yeah. You know what it's like. Your medical records are a list a mile long. Like,
what you're defying, that's what we're overcoming, and it's through that you become strong and resilient and so positive. And I guess if you put it all into one ball, you become this absolute amazing ball of empowerment and inspiration to other people, which is pretty it's pretty So tell me the fun.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, go.
You go.
Oh no, I was just going to say, but also if I was sitting here in absolute emotional wreck, like that would be completely okay too, in case there is someone watching this crying their heart out because life is shit. That's fine too, because we all have that as well.
Yeah.
And you're just as inspiring and empowered and everything out there, because we're all just trying to do our bloody best here.
That we are, and I want to turn this into like the fun part for the last few minutes that we talk. Couple of really cool things. Now, you have a YouTube channel which is hilarious. Tell us a little bit about that and about a few of the videos you post, and I'll pop a link in this for people to jump on over who would like to laugh, because I find it bloody hilarious.
Thank you. I will put a disclaimer. There hasn't been a lot of posting going on the last year or two, but yeah, I started it because I was sick and sort of chronically ill, and CF out there being represented so dreamily, and you know, romanticized. And I just thought, this is how it is. And I just started posting crap up there. I don't know how to explain it. It's basically just like, yeah, if you want to just watch me be a dickhead, that's what it is.
Well, I find you've got I keep moving my screens, by the way, because my laptop was nearly about to go flat, but we're charged now, so we're good.
Oh, okay.
But you have got the funniest way of making CF sexy. Like, it is so funny. So on that, tell me, why are you known as Rejecting Lauren Rowe? Why did you pick that?
Because I started my Instagram handle when I was rejecting, and I felt like everything was rejecting me, because then I had to move out of acting, which was my career. Like, you know, so I like my job, my lungs, like even just like some friends, like, you know, we all have those friends, but like I just felt like everything was rejecting me. I'm like, well, I'm embracing it. This is what it is, ladies and gents. I'm constantly being rejected by people.
Well, you're literally stomping on people's lives, and in a good way. I will put a link up so people can check it out. Just to end our conversation, you can hear my front door knocking. This is rude.
Get it? Or?
No, it's fine. They'll let themselves in. I'm an open house here. I want you to just finish up by telling me, or telling people that are watching, some advice. What is the most positive advice that you could give someone who may be having a bad day today?
Okay, if someone's having a bad day out there, firstly, and I use this all the time, but I sincerely mean it, remember, you're not alone in this, because we all have our days where everything just closes in and we feel like there is no way out. There is a way out, and I'm not going to say that it will be okay, but you will have better days than you are having now. And you'll find that just by spending time with your loved ones, and getting the support that you need. And just remember that you can still be independent and ask for help. I think that's a really important thing out there, because I struggled with not wanting people to help me, thinking that I was actually a burden. And then I realized that in me letting people do stuff for me, sounds weird, but I was actually, by allowing them to do that, I was helping them feel useful to helping me. So, you know, please don't ever feel like you can't ask for help. And if it's not in your immediate circle, there are support networks out there. So.
Yeah. Oh, well, that is very good advice. Very
off the cuff. That's what you get.
We've been on an emotional roller coaster here today. A little bit. Taking you a bit around with the laptop as well. So I just want to say thank you for talking with me. I know that, it's kind of, I wanted this to be very raw, very natural, and we gel very well together. So I hope that.
And before we go, I have to say, I saw you in Girlfriend magazine in, I think it was 2003 or 4.
Oh, a long time ago. Yeah.
Yeah. I was in hospital and I bought it downstairs, because, you know, every hospital has the downstairs convenience shop. Yeah. And I saw you in it. I was like, oh my gosh, look at her. And then you wrote a book. And then I was like, Mom, we have to get the book. I went to Dimmicks and went and grabbed your book. I think I was about 13, 14 at the time. And I was like, this is great.
Oh, that's so
yeah. So I've known you a lot longer than you've known me.
Are you stalking on me here?
Hell yeah. I stalk everyone.
Oh, that's so good. I love hearing that. That's amazing. I've got another book coming out. Stay tuned.
Ooh. Exciting.
Many projects. But no, thank you for talking with me today. Like I said, we'll drop a link for your YouTube channel. People can check it out. And I would love to touch base with you in the coming months. I know that you're probably going to go from here to probably here, but then you'll be back up here. So let's keep in touch and let everyone see how amazing you're doing post-transplant, because I imagine you've got a lot more left to give this world.
Yeah, well, let's get listed first, I say. Fingers crossed. Well,
thank you, and we will.
Thank you. All right.